Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to call to order this meeting of August 8th, 2017 of the Lynn Haven City Commission and welcome all of you here today. At this time, it is my pleasure to welcome Chris Dye. He is a member of the Ark of the Bay with Ron Sharp in the St. Andrews Bay Center, and he's going to be offering our invocation as well as leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance. If you would please stand. Thank you, Chris.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Father, who art in heaven, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Forgive those who trespass against us. Deliver us from evil. Amen.
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 Thank you so much, Chris. You may be seated. As part of the mayor's report, I'd like to include that I have an ongoing dialogue with Ron Sharp, who is the director for the Ark of the Bay here in Lynn Haven. And many of the clients of this wonderful organization will be joining us in our commission meetings over the next weeks, and we're so thankful to have you as part of the meetings. Thank you very much. At this time, also, I wanted to share with you just a little bit as far as the mayor's report. It's been a very busy week with lots of meetings with city manager, and we've done several, there have been conference calls with the Air Force regarding the fuel depot property closing. We've had meetings with the various parties involved. It's moving much closer within a day or two. I'd like to recognize Jerry Smithwick, who's with us today, who's been a part of this project for almost 10 years now, back in the Alan Boyd days, a little over 10 years, and several other parties as well. Jim Slanina with Panhandle Engineering has been a part of it for a long time as well. So it's moving very close. Within the next couple of days, we should be closed, and August 23rd is set for the celebration, which will take place, and the Deputy Secretary of the Air Force, as well as many other dignitaries, will be here to push this forward, and we're all very excited. This week, there have been several calls to me regarding the progress of our traffic calming study, and there are studies taking place, and I don't want to take away from the city manager's report, but you might have noticed that there are some counters out and about, and so that is moving forward. And I also had an opportunity to speak with a local church group, and the topic was the influence of strong women in my life, and I've centered most of that around my mother, but it was a very enjoyable time to be with those ladies. Finally, in today's mayor's report, I wanted to bring to light once again the request of a citizen, and I gave copies to all members of the board. If you don't have it in front of you, let me know. I think everybody received a copy, but I just wanted you to have it in front of you. This letter is from actually a neighbor of mine. His name is Fred Strickland, and his letter reads, "Ladies and gentlemen, please accept this letter as a formal request to open the Old Bailey Bridge gates wide enough to allow my electric golf cart to pass through in accordance with the Americans with Disabilities Act. I have a disability with a valid handicap sticker, which affords me the use of a mobility device according to the ADA, which includes, but not limited to, wheelchair, electric scooter, Segway, or electric golf cart. Copies of the ADA have previously been submitted to the city and to the police department. More information can be obtained at the ADA website. I also put for the commission's perusal the ADA's discussion of what is seen as an other power-driven mobility device. And what I'm asking for today is the possibility of discussion with maybe possible action at this time regarding this request, because the ADA in their documents, which are on federal websites, tell us, and I have conferred with city attorney as well, that while we do not have to give permission, that if we're going to tell an individual no, that we can't provide you this access, then we need to provide them with reasons that include, for the most part, safety reasons why this would not be allowed. And so after reading what's on the federal website, there are 5 different safety reasons that would prevent us from allowing this individual to have this accommodation. We also have other individuals in Lynn Haven who are disabled that this would be beneficial to. So what I'd just like to say to the commission at this point is that whichever way you feel about this, based on your ideas of what these safety rules impart, in other words, if you don't feel that it's safe for this to be allowed, we do owe as a commission the right of action to this individual. By not answering him with a yes or no, we are depriving him of a lack of due process. And so we need to answer him one way or the other. So if anyone would like to make a motion to discuss this further, to take action, I brought this before the commission. So, and I did bring it up at a previous meeting, and 2 different commissioners said they needed time for research. So I'm back with it.
Well, Mayor, is it possible that we can have the city attorney to give us some more?
Absolutely, because that's what I did as well. Sure, absolutely. Go ahead, if you don't mind.
Sure, yes, Mayor, Commissioners.
We're not hearing you. Let me.
Is that any better? Yeah, operator error. There is I guess we received a request from a citizen to have access to the Bailey Bridge for a golf cart. Golf carts are covered as, I think the ADA calls it an other mobility device. For other mobility devices, there's no strict rule that you must allow them for a golf cart sized device. There are some smaller ones that have to be accommodated. But there is, you can accommodate them, and you should accommodate them unless there's a valid reason not to. One of the valid reasons is safety concern, and then the statute has 5 factors to consider, including the type, size, and weight of the vehicle, the volume of pedestrian traffic, the facility's design, how narrow it is, and then whether there's legitimate safety requirements on that device. I know previously that the commission has not allowed golf carts on the Bailey Bridge because of safety concerns, and so that's I think that's where the commission is right now.
So basically, taking that information and taking all the emotions out of this, it would probably be in the city's best interest from a liability standpoint that we keep things the way they are.
The commission has previously determined that, has discussed that there was a safety issue on the Bailey Bridge for golf carts, and unless you think that it would be safe for a handicapped individual to be able to go on the bridge, that would be your decision. As far as liability, I mean, that's the liability is going to be there regardless if it's pedestrian, golf cart, however it is.
So if we open this up, in essence, we're going to be opening up a Pandora's box. That's why the commission in the past said we're not going to have any kind of vehicles on the old Bailey Bridge.
If you do open it up, I mean, obviously it would, if you did it just for disabled or handicapped individuals, you'd have to have some kind of criteria to determine if someone qualifies for to be able to drive on that bridge, or you could open it up to everybody and not have to deal with that requirement at all.
Absolutely.
Well, no, I can discuss it after the motion's made too.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that, based upon the information that we just heard, that we do not allow golf carts on the Bailey Bridge, and also included in that motion, I would like for the city attorney to draft a letter in response to Mr. Strickland, indicating the reasons as to why the city chooses not to do so.
There's a motion on the floor, so we have to.
Second.
So there's been a motion and a second. So at this point, then you could ask a question.
My question, I'm sorry. My question is to your city attorney. Are we? What's our liability if we refuse this for folks who are handicapped? I would think they could just turn around and sue the city.
Someone could, Mayor, may I? Yeah. Yes, I mean, this is covered under the Title II of the Americans with Disabilities Act, and so that does give somebody a private right of suit to sue us for refusing to accommodate their request.
Mayor,
Go ahead, please.
If I may, I just want to make note of the reason why I seconded the motion. Because I believe there's a safety issue between the speed of the vehicles, the amount of pedestrian traffic on the bridge, as well as the fishermen. I don't think you can accommodate all of that without having problems, and that is the reason why I seconded the motion.
Okay, I appreciate that. Is there any further discussion?
Yes, Mayor.
Go ahead, please.
I do have the safety concern. My concern is the liability for the reasons that the city attorney stated, but it's more to the fact that we did specifically say no golf carts on the bridge for safety reasons, so we're kind of contradicting ourselves if we now overstate that by saying, yes, we'll allow handicap. All that being said, my biggest hang-up with making a decision today would be I would like to see the item actually on the agenda so that we have an opportunity to do more research, think about it. Not even that so much as it is just to advertise it to the people so that so people that are concerned and have their individual thoughts on it can reach out to us and share their opinions on it. So.
Yeah, I appreciate the idea of putting it on the agenda. When I brought it up in the mayor's report before, I was just told, I believe it was either by you or Commissioner Barnes, I don't remember which. One of you said you wanted time to do more research.
I did.
And so I'm assuming that you haven't done the research.
I've done my research.
But you were asking the attorney to give you more explanation.
There were some other questions that I wanted, and
okay.
Everything's been answered.
Okay. What I would like to just add to the discussion before we vote on denying this is that if you carefully read the website, it does say that you can deny the request, but it says that you should make reasonable judgment based upon safety. And it also gave many examples of college campuses, of public areas, and we are covered under public areas. And so as far as liability, if a child falls on a swing, if someone falls off the bridge, if someone is run over on one of our streets, the city is liable for many. Anyone can sue for anything. I would just like to go on record saying that I believe that we as a city owe equal access to all of our amenities to those of us who are less fortunate, whether by disease, whether by injury, whether they're a veteran of the United States Armed Forces. They deserve equal access. We allow bow fishing with barbed arrows off of our bridge. It's a Florida statute. We can't prevent that. Which is more dangerous? A disabled individual on a golf cart to go out there and be able to fish or to take their grandchildren for a ride? Some of them don't have a lot of time. The individual who wrote us this letter, I'm speaking maybe more than I should speak, but he's battling terminal cancer. The only way he can enjoy the outdoors, to be outside, is to be able to be on the golf cart. I certainly wish he could, take it on the bridge and see a dolphin go by. So that's all I have to say about it. So at this point, if there's any further discussion?
Mayor, the only other thing I'd like to add is it's coincidental because, it wasn't on the agenda, and I have done a little research on it. And I did talk to our ADA liaison about it a little bit at the TPO meeting. I did think about it just this morning because I crossed the bridge. The only other thing that I was going to bring up, if it came up again, was we have the wheelchair ramps, one on either side, and that's for the wheelchairs to be able to get up on the sidewalk there and fish. So I think that's something we'd have to think about too. Are we going to need to expand those to accommodate a golf cart if that's the intent is to fish? So I think we just got to look all the way around it again. But my primary concern is we already said no to golf carts for the safety reason, and I just want to make sure we're not putting the city in a position that that can't come back to hurt us. And I agree with you. I understand we can get sued for any reason. Well,
I would just like to make a small correction. We never voted as a commission to exclude the bridge. We just didn't include it. We did not take a vote. It was
That's a
never
good
voted
point.
upon. We just didn't include it
Well,
at all.
yes, ma'am, you're correct. I think we just made it very clear that golf carts were not going to be allowed on the bridge.
In that particular motion. This is
Yes.
something completely separate. This
agree.
is to accommodate individuals in our community with disabilities. Anyway, does anyone else did you have anything else you wanted to add?
No, ma'am, I'm
Anyone
thank you.
else?
No, ma'am.
Any comments from the public regarding this? Yes, ma'am.
Janet Walker, 1106 Michigan Avenue. To be clear in my head, this gentleman is a neighbor of yours living on that side of 77.
He is.
Is he crossing 77 in the motorized wheelchair, or is he going to be transported from that side of 77 to the park and then use the motorized train?
To the best of my knowledge, based on what we did this past week, a group of friends, we all went to Apalachicola, and friends helped him to put it on a trailer and trailer it to where he was going, and that would be how he would do
Not
it.
crossing 7.
Not at this time. It's not legal. Is there anyone else? Yes, sir.
Fred Strickland, 702 West 6th Street in Lynn Haven. I can appreciate your concern for safety. I do not understand the general term, we're going to deny it for safety reasons. Can you tell me some of those safety reasons? That bridge is 25 to 30 feet wide. I'm sure the engineers here can tell us exactly. I'd go to that bridge at least 5 times a week. Most of the time, I see maybe 2 people on the bridge. If you designated an area to the west side near the pipelines, say a 6-foot strip, make the golf carts stay in that area. Most people who ride golf carts, myself included, even though I can't walk far distances, I can walk. I could park my golf cart, get up and walk across the bridge to the other side of the bridge and fish. So you're saying you're doing it for safety reasons, but what are these safety reasons? I don't see it. I mean, can someone give me an example of some of these safety reasons, or is it just a general dodge that you just don't want damn golf carts on the bridge?
Would anyone care to respond? Or
Mr. Strickland, my issue is it is a pedestrian bridge, and I'm afraid if we put a motorized vehicle on it, a pedestrian is going to get hurt. It's strictly a safety issue for me. I hate the fact that it's this situation, but that's the way I feel. You know, and I have had nobody come to me other than your letter and one other person wanting the bridge open. I've had more people come to me asking me not to open it because they're afraid that when their kids are walking on that bridge, they're going to get run over. Or a fisherman's going to be on that bridge and he's backing up to catch a fish and he's going to get hit by a golf cart. So for me, it's strictly a safety issue.
But still, it is very subjective. The state of Florida says that I can ride my golf cart from the north end of Lynn Haven all the way to the dollar store on the sidewalk. Now, if there's a pedestrian on the sidewalk approaching me in the golf cart, you know, one of us has to get off the sidewalk. But the state of Florida doesn't consider that a safety issue. But some of you just out of the blue, you're opposed to this for safety reasons, and that's just a generic term, and I don't see it. I think it would be very safe. And I imagine a lot of other people, reasonable people, average people, who have no political biases in this thing, and unfortunately we do have that. I totally disagree with you. I wish you would reconsider, and then I'll do what I have to do. Thank you.
thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to ask a question or speak? Yes, sir.
My name is Bob Gardner. I'm at Marina Bay Condominiums on the other side of the bridge. I would like access back and forth. It would be nice to use the old bridge versus having to use the 8-foot wide right-of-way on the bridge. That is a little bit dangerous. We're both ADA, so we have the access. We can use the bridge, the main bridge. But bottom line is, it's dangerous. Fred has done it once. I really don't care to do that. And if you're worried about the number of people that are going to be out there with golf carts, all we're asking for is ADA people. So give us a key or lease us a key where we can open the locks and egress and ingress across the bridge. That's all we're asking, just a few of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, there appears to be no other discussion.
Mayor, if I may.
Sure.
It seems to me that Mr. Gardner and Mr. Strickland have two different issues. Mr. Strickland would like the bridge open for use of the bridge, where Mr. Gardner wants to cross the bridge. So that's two different. That would be, to me, that's two different issues.
I think so. I think they were both speaking about access of ADA on the bridge, however.
Okay.
He did say that he was ADA as well.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Okay, Mr. White.
Commissioner Barnes?
Aye.
Commissioner Russell? Yes. Commissioner Fran?
No.
Commissioner Tender?
No.
Mayor Anderson?
No.
Mayor, can I make a motion?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion that we put this item on a future agenda as soon as possible to open it up for discussion again and do more research.
If I may, it just passed to be opened.
No.
No.
Because the motion was to not allow it, right? So it was two votes not to allow it, and 3 votes to allow it.
No, it's not correct. That's not the motion.
Well, that's the way the motion was made.
Excuse me, I want to ask attorney to clarify.
The motion was to not allow golf carts on the bridge for safety reasons, and then draft a letter to respond to Mr. Strickland's complaint. So that motion failed, so there's no action taken.
You can't take the opposite action on something. You have to make a separate motion, Commissioner Russell.
Okay, I misunderstood the way the vote went.
Yeah, so that motion failed. So there's no action taken by the commission at all on this issue.
And now Commissioner Friend has made another motion. Would you mind repeating, Commissioner
No, ma'am,
Friend?
not at
Thank
all.
you so much.
Thank you. I'd like to make a motion that we put the item on a future agenda to discuss having ADA compliant motorized vehicles on the Bailey Bridge.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
There's been a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yes, ma'am. One of the things that I want to look into, and no disrespect to the individual, but I believe in research from golf carts in the past that the sidewalks have to be 12 feet.
It's 8 feet.
Is it 8 feet? Okay. All right, so that's part of what I wanted to do as well. But I also wanted to give the opportunity for the public to come out and speak on the issue.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Okay. Mr. White, would you call the roll?
Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Commissioner Tender?
Yes.
Commissioner Barnes?
No.
Commissioner Russell? No. Mayor Anderson?
Yes. And so with Mr. Friend's proposal that we place it on the next agenda for discussion, for further discussion from the public and the board, that will happen. So that will continue. Thank you, Commissioner Friend. Okay, moving on our agenda to... Lost my agenda, sorry. To item number 4, which is the Commissioner's report. Commissioner Russell, do you have a report today?
No, ma'am, I sure don't.
Commissioner Tender?
Yes, I do. I learned something this week that I'd like to share with everybody. I had somebody ask me, they actually emailed me, asking if it was still the case that when they made a donation to the animal shelter, did the animal shelter get those funds to use? And I did a little research, and I found out some very interesting information. First of all, I don't know if you know this, but Walmart donates all dog food and cat food to our animal shelter, which I thought was very awesome. And the other thing is that the monies that people donate, when they just donate money to the animal shelter, it goes in the general fund. It's not something that, that they can actually spend. And when talking to the head of that department, she told me that if people wanted to donate to the animal shelter, the best way to do it was through a gift card. And they could use those to buy bottles, formula, and special things for kittens and puppies and things like that. So I just found that very interesting, and I wanted to pass that along, especially to any animal lovers who donate there. I also had a request from a citizen at 904 Virginia that's almost my address. 904 Michigan, that's having a drainage issue in her backyard that it backs up to the senior center. And she was wanting to request if the city would bring in a load of dirt, she'll shovel it in herself. Anyway, I'm going to discuss that with the city manager afterwards. And the only other thing I have is that I just want the public to know that I'm currently looking into overtime pay for our first responders. And when I'm through looking into that, I am going to move on to the different departments. I personally want to make sure that if our first responders are working overtime where they have earned that time and a half, that they're getting it. And so that's a project I'm working on this side. That's all I have.
Thank you. Commissioner Barnes?
Yes, I have two items. First of all, just want to remind you that this upcoming Saturday, the 12th, from 10 to 3 at Kane Griffin Park, we will have a day of shredding. This is for our Lynn Haven residents who have some items that they need to get shredded to protect their safety. Again, this is going to be Saturday from 10 to 3 at the Kane Griffin Park. You got to have some sort of ID that states that you are a citizen of Lynn Haven, copy of a water bill, something of that nature. My second item is the start of school that will take place Thursday, August the 17th. Please be careful as you are going through the school crossing areas. We're looking to hopefully have a great year, and we just want to make sure that we keep our students safe here in Lynn Haven. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Friend?
Thank you, Mayor. I had the opportunity, along with the mayor and a couple other commissioners, to do a check presentation for Brock's Pest Control. We're very fortunate to have such a long-time, generational style type business in Lynn Haven. They've moved on 77. They took advantage of that incentive program with the widening of 390 to stay in Lynn Haven, and we're certainly happy that all worked out. I did attend the TPO meeting. Also met with a couple of department heads about the budget. Got a few more to go. Met with the engineer on roads, and also several times with the city manager. But I also like to just thank this commission. Take time to thank the commission for taking the extra time, the special meeting that we did for the fuel depot. I'm glad that all worked out as it has, and look forward to the next step. So, thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. At this time, we'll move to item number 5, which is the city manager's report. Mr. White?
Thank you, Mayor. At this time, if Chief Reamer and Fire Chief DeLonge and President Wolf of the Lions Club, if y'all would step forward. We've been gracious enough by the Lions Club to donate some money to the Lynn Haven Fire Department and the Police Department. So I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Wolf and let him do his checks presentations, and if he has any words, and of course, Chiefs, if y'all do as well.
The Lynn Haven Lions Club resided within Lynn Haven for many, many years, and we're just the club going south is just a fact of life, essentially, in that people my age typically are not giving of their time. They're happy to write a check, but they don't want to volunteer. So unfortunately, that's what happened with Lynn Haven's Lion Club. So the pancake breakfast that you may be used to in the past are no longer, unfortunately. But many of us have moved on and joined the Panama City Club. We are happy, though, that one of the things that we were able to do over the many years is to provide eye care, eyeglasses, and surgeries for needy people of Bay County, many of whom live within, Lynn Haven. So I'm very happy for that. But so now it brings me to this. We are happy to present 2 checks to the city of Lynn Haven, one to the police department and one to the fire department. And both checks are intended to be used so that they may purchase new ballistic vests.
Wow.
Thank you for that. Number two, Commission Mayor, I've been working with our departments and trying to brokerage a RFQ for looking at health, dental, and life insurance. That went out August 6th in the News Herald, and it'll be placed on our website. You know, we want to look at the different services that may be offered through insurance that could help save some money and also give better coverage to the employees. Number three, we've been working on an employee policy manual. I have sought the help of a consultant, and the consultant's moving right forward with that. As you know, before me, that's something y'all was working on. After coming on board, I noticed there were several things that still needed some attention, so we're working to bring it up to date. As from one of the workshops, first workshop I attended, the traffic calming policy, I have created a committee of the fire chief, police chief, public works director, and myself to look at the policy and including the engineer, and to look at the policy and decide what we need to do, and we'll be bringing that to you in the near future. And lastly, I have already engaged with the engineer firm, Panhandle, to look at the golf cart crossing study that's been initiated.
Thank you so much. Moving on to item number 6, the city attorney's report.
Yes, ma'am. I just have one thing. I want to update the commission on the Fuel Depot transaction. It's not closed yet, but we do have a signed contract. All the money is here. We're waiting for signed documents from the U.S. Air Force. My understanding is most of them were FedExed out today, and we should be here tomorrow. One stuck in the Pentagon someplace, and hopefully that'll show up soon. FSU has mailed their documents today, and so we're hoping to close Thursday or Friday of this week and have all the deeds transferred. There is one request, though. The developer in the contract asked that he submit his application the day of closing, and the new team has decided they want to take a good look at that development agreement before it comes back to the city for consideration, so they like to waive that contract requirement, and they're going to bring the development agreement back to the commission within 90 days. If I could have a motion for that.
Is there a motion that we waive the development agreement signage for up to 90 days as the attorney proposed?
So move.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Any discussion?
Yes, ma'am. Just to clarify, so we'll negotiate or they'll ask or look it over, and I certainly understand that being new people at the table, but it will come back before the commission for final approval.
Yeah, yes, sir. It's a statutory requirement that we have to go through 2 public hearings and it's a at least 30-day review period. And so even if they had signed it at closing, we'd still have to go through and vet it all, and we could make changes during that time frame too. So,
thank you, Mayor.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions? Any from the public? Okay, Mr. White, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Commissioner Tender?
Yes.
Commissioner Barnes?
Aye.
Commissioner Russell?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes, and so the motion is approved.
and that's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Item number 7, 8, and 9 each are public hearings with no action required on these items, but we do have to read these, and so I'll be starting and stopping 3 separate public hearings. Public hearing, this one is beginning at 4:35. It is now open. It is a large-scale future land use map amendment ESR 17-2 and the transmittal of Ordinance 1037, a final reading. So at this time, Mr. White, if you could read the Ordinance 1037, and then we'll ask for a report from staff. We have a large board packet we're shuffling here.
Excuse me.
We can, did you find it? Yeah.
Yeah, 10%.
Okay, here we go.
An ordinance of the City Commission for the City of Lynn Haven, Florida, amending the adopted comprehensive plan, providing for purpose and intent, providing for a title, amending the future land use map from Bay County, County R1 to City of Lynn Haven low density, residential for a parcel of land, parcel number 11573-050-000, located between County Road 389 and the Cameron's Crossing subdivision, which is approximately 24.84 acres within the city, as more accurately described within the body of the ordinance, provided for severability, providing for a copy on file, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. At this time, we have a report from staff, our city planner, Amanda Richard. Thank you.
Thank you. This is a large-scale future land use map amendment request. This large-scale amendment request has already gone through the state. It has been to the Department of Economic Opportunity, and they have given the go-ahead for you to adopt it. We had the first reading 2 weeks ago. This is the second reading and the public hearing. If you decide to adopt this tonight, then what happens next is we send it back to the state, and if no one challenges it within 31 days, it becomes effective. So the project is known as Andrews Plantation. The applicant is GAC Contractors. The agent is Jim Slanina from Panhandle Engineering, and he is present tonight if anybody had any questions for him. The parcel number is 11573-050-000, and the location is Highway 389. It's adjacent to the Cameron's Crossing subdivision. The parcel size is almost 25 acres, and the existing land use is residential Bay County. This property was just recently annexed in to the city from the county, and as such, we have to give it a city land use because it still has its county land use, and that was Bay County R1. The proposed land use is low-density residential. The current allowable density on that property under the Bay County land use is 8 dwelling units per acre. The allowable density, if this land use change goes through, will be reduced to 5 dwelling units per acre. So there'll actually be less on there than there could have been had it been in the county. And as I mentioned earlier, the property is contiguous on the east side with the Cameron's Crossing subdivision. This is a location map. It's difficult for you to see perhaps where the red outline is for that kind of T on its side shaped property. I have a new pointy stick, so if anybody wanted me to point it out, I'm able to do that. These don't work on these screens, unfortunately. And this is it, the aerial shot showing you the location. And as you can see on the east there on the right-hand side is the Cameron's Crossing subdivision.
Thank you. Are there any questions or concerns from the board regarding Ordinance 1037? Are there any questions or concerns from the public? There appear to be none, so this public hearing is closed at 4:39. Then moving on to item number 8, this public hearing is open at 4:39. This is the Small Scale Plan Amendment SSA 17-T, Transmittal Ordinance 1038. This is the final reading. Mr. White, are you ready with that one?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Ordinance number 1038, an ordinance providing for the adoption pursuant to Chapter 163 Florida statutes of a land use change from low-density residential to mixed use for an approximate 0.66 acres of property located at 1002 Florida Avenue and 100 New York Avenue in the city of Lynn Haven, Bay County, Florida, repealing all ordinances in conflict herewith and providing an effective date.
Thank you. Ms. Richard, do you have a report for this one?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And I also would like to mention, because I forgot on that previous one, that all the agenda items that I'll be presenting to you tonight have gone through the Planning Commission and they have all been voted on. The Planning Commission voted a recommendation of approval for every item. This is a small-scale future land use map amendment. If something is under 10 acres, it's a small scale. The large scales are for those parcels of land which are over 10 acres. So this is a small scale. So the process is a little different. With this one, you can have the 2 readings of the ordinance, the first reading that we had a couple of weeks ago, and then this second reading, the final reading, and we send it to DEO. And then they look at it, and if no one challenges it within the 31 days, it automatically becomes effective. So with the small scales, it's not such a long process as with the large scales. This is a small-scale future land use map amendment. The applicant is Mr. Jerry Jimerson, who doesn't have an agent. He's just representing himself. The address, there actually are 2 parcels. The first one is 1002 Florida Avenue, and the second one is 1011 New York Avenue. The parcel numbers are 09790-000-000 and 09794-000-000. The existing land use on the parcel that you once changed is low-density residential, and the requested land use is mixed use. The existing uses on the site are vacant, and you'll see that one of the parcels currently already has mixed use on half of the parcel. This is the first parcel here, outlined in red, the aerial shot. And this is the one here that currently has, on the east side, mixed use. So it already is mixed use on one half and then low-density residential on the other half. He would like for it all to be mixed use. This is the second parcel. This is a small 50-foot wide parcel. This one is currently low-density residential, and he would like for this one to also be mixed use. If that occurs, then you can see, if I go back to this one, you can see where the mixed use is up there going up on the east side. If he were able to have his low-density residential as mixed use also, then this is what that would look like. And basically, what's probably beginning to happen here is you've got commercial along Highway 77, and then along Florida, you've got mixed use. And this is the city kind of growing outwards because mixed use allows for residential as well as low, intense commercial. So this really is just the natural progression of the city if you allow it to expand its commercial.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there questions from the board?
Yes, I have one.
Okay, go ahead.
Is this piece of property located on the corner where SunTrust Bank used to be? Or is it one...
This is currently a vacant parcel. Let me go back to the aerial. This is a vacant parcel here, which is in between the New York parcel and Florida. 10, and it's a 10th block.
Thank you.
Are there other questions from the board, concerns?
Yes, Mayor, if I may.
Commissioner Friend?
Thank you, Mayor. Just clarify, because I think mixed use can send mixed signals. An example would be retail on the bottom, an apartment on top.
Right.
Okay.
But with a parcel this size, it is possible to have both residential, in that form located upon it, or you could have single family or multifamily and, let's say, administrative offices or something, doctor's offices. We have a lot of doctor's offices and dental offices and that kind of thing locating in the city.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Other questions from the board?
Yes, Mayor.
Commissioner Russell?
Thank you. In the process of this request, I'm assuming advertising has been done, and has there been anything posted on the property to warn the neighbors around it?
We don't require, with a land use change, we don't require that something's posted on the property, although the city generally does, but we do have very specific, the statutes, Florida statutes have very specific public noticing requirements when it comes to advertising in the newspaper, so many days before meetings. With this public hearing was advertised, so they were advertised prior to the Planning Commission meetings, and then it was advertised that this was a public hearing that was taking place for a land use, potential land use change.
But no direct no direct contact to the neighbors, to the property?
No. If there's a variance request, we have to send letters out to everybody within a certain distance, but for a land use change, you don't.
You did say that the Planning Commission had recommended this with a unanimous vote, correct? Thank you so much. Any other questions from the board? Any questions from the public? Concerns? Thank you. Okay, moving on to item number 9, public hearing beginning at 4:45. This is the Small Scale Plan Amendment SSA-17-3. The transmittal is Ordinance number 1039. This is the final reading. Thank you. Mr. White.
Ordinance number 1039, an ordinance providing for the adoption pursuant to Chapter 163 Florida statutes of a land use change from mixed use to commercial for an approximate 1.41 acres of property located at 1317 Ohio Avenue, 1304 Pennsylvania Avenue, and 1308 Pennsylvania Avenue in the city of Lynn Haven, Bay County, Florida, repealing all ordinances in conflict herewith and providing an effective date.
Thank you. Ms. Richard, report for that.
This is another small-scale future land use map amendment request. This time the project is the CVS store. I think you're all probably familiar with the CVS store. With the widening of Highway 390, that current CVS store is going to be demolished because some of their property is being taken away from them, and they're basically bumping everything north. So they're purchasing parcels to the north of them, some of them on Highway 77 and some on Pennsylvania. There is also on the agenda tonight, I think there was the first reading last week, of a right-of-way abandonment in between some of these parcels, which they're also going to be, purchasing and using as part of their larger project. So again, the project is CVS Store. The applicant is Linfield Hunter Junius, Inc. The agent is Jonathan Cantanzano and Casey Genovese. And Jonathan is here tonight if you have any specific questions. The address, this again is more than one parcel that is being involved here. So the addresses are 1317 Ohio Avenue, 1304 Pennsylvania Avenue, and 1308 Pennsylvania Avenue. Parcel numbers 10088-000-000, 10086-020-000, and 10086-010-000. The existing land use is mixed use, and the requested land use is commercial. The existing uses on the site, CVS store and 2 residential homes on the parcels which are on Pennsylvania. The site currently, and this shows the CVS site here, the site currently is another one that is split and has half commercial and half mixed use, which is totally fine. They haven't been operating as non-conforming. It's fine to be that way, but it's just a lot tidier if they bring it all into a commercial land use, which is what they're doing here. And in fact, the city really said that we would like to see this happen. So here is the CVS store, the parcel, and that's the first parcel. That's the parcel with the Ohio address, is the current parcel. And then the parcel on Pennsylvania to the north is the first parcel that they're asking for the land use change on Pennsylvania for, and then the parcel to the north of that. So they are the parcels there within that red outline, the current parcel, and then the 2 parcels going on up Pennsylvania. This is how they look now. If you approve the land use change, this is how it will look then with the commercial.
Thank you. Any questions or concerns from the board? Any questions or concerns from the public? Okay, thank you, Ms. Richards. And this hearing is concluded at 4:49. Okay, now we move to the consent agenda. I will read each of the items and then ask for a motion to approve the entire consent agenda. If anyone has questions or concerns about any item, you may bring it up at that time. Item number 10, the minutes from the last 2 meetings from July 25th and then the special meeting on August 1st. Item number 11 is the approval of Tetra Tech Incorporated as the disaster debris monitoring firm for the city. And item number 12, approval of BCL Civil Contractors, Inc. to perform work for A.L. Kinsall Shoreline Stabilization Grant Project. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion to approve, followed by a second. Are there any questions or concerns on any of these items from the board?
Mayor, on the meeting of Tuesday, August the 1st, it had on item number 4 that I had voted yes. I was not in attendance at that meeting, so that needs to be corrected accordingly.
Thank you for pointing that out. If we could make that correction, please. Anyone else have a correction to any of the minutes or other concerns?
I have a question.
Yes.
The approval of Tetra Tech, Inc., exactly what is that? Disaster debris monitor, debris monitoring.
It's a firm that we hire to clean up if we should have any kind of disaster, but the city manager can address if you want more details.
Okay.
More?
Yes, if say a hurricane came and we have to have certain licensed people to clean up the city in order to acquire FEMA funding as far as reimbursement. So we had to initiate a contract with this company.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions on any of these items? Any questions or concerns from the public on these items? Okay, Mr. White, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Russell?
Yes.
Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Commissioner Tender?
Yes.
Commissioner Barnes?
Aye.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes, so the motion stands approved for the consent agenda. Old business, item number 13, the second reading of ordinance number 1037, a proposed large-scale future land use map amendment for Andrews Plantation via the required state review process. Is there a motion for approval?
I move approval.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Any further discussion from the board? Questions? Any from the public? Mr. White, would you please call the roll for item number 13?
Commissioner Barnes?
Aye.
Commissioner Russell?
Yes.
Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Commissioner Tender?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes, so that stands approved. Moving to item number 14, this is the second reading of ordinance number 1038, a request for a small-scale future land use map, amendment SSA 17-2 by Mr. Jerry Jimerson for the west half of 1002 Florida Avenue and 101 New York Avenue. Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion from the board? Any questions or discussion from the public? Yes, ma'am.
Just a correction to the end of agenda item number 14. You have 101 on the agenda.
Did I say the wrong number? Thank you for pointing it out. I'm not sure which one we're looking at. Is the address 101, Ms. Richard? I'm looking quickly.
1002.
100.
Oh, I knew it.
1002.
Wow.
1011.
1011.
So it should be 1011. It's a typo on my... Thank you for pointing that out. Okay. Any other questions? Let us know about those typos. Okay. Mr. White, please call the roll.
Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Commissioner Tender?
Yes.
Commissioner Barnes?
Aye.
Commissioner Russell?
No.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes. Motion stands approved. Item number 15, the second reading of ordinance number 1039, a request for a small-scale future land use map amendment, SSA-17-3 from Florida One Trustee Incorporated, Carolyn S. Anderson and Eddie Mary Brown for 3 parcels comprised of approximately 1.41 acres located at 1317 Ohio Avenue, 1304 Pennsylvania Avenue, and 1308 Pennsylvania Avenue. Is there a motion for approval?
So
Move
moved.
approval.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Any discussion, corrections, or questions? Any from the public? Mr. White, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Russell?
Yes.
Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Commissioner Tender?
Yes.
Commissioner Barnes?
Aye.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes. So the motion stands approved. Item 16 is the second reading of ordinance number 1040, proposing to formally adopt reference to background screenings policy in the Lynn Haven Code of Ordinances for all vendors, volunteers, coaches, referees, umpires, providing services at city parks while permitting revision to the policy. Would you please read the ordinance, Mr. White?
Ordinance number 1040, An ordinance of the City of Lynn Haven, Florida, amending Chapter 42 of the Lynn Haven Code of Ordinances regarding parks and recreation, formalizing an existing background screening requirement for all vendors, volunteers, and coaches providing services at city parks, adopting a background screening policy, providing for revisions to such policy by resolution, repealing all ordinances in conflict, and providing for an immediate effective date.
Thank you. Is there a motion for approval?
So move.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Any questions or discussion from the board?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
When you say background check, is this the type of background check we do with a firm? I mean, we contract somebody to do it?
Yes.
Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay. Any questions from the public or concerns? Yes, sir.
Rich Walker, 1106 Michigan Avenue. It says here, all vendors, volunteers, coaches, referees, umpires, providing services at city parks while permitting revision. Do we have a broad or do we have a definitive outline what this is supposed to entail? This could also, does it include the farmer's market? They're vendors, they're on city park.
That's the way I read it.
They're going to get background checks? What I'm looking at is, do you have a definitive paragraph by paragraph to cover everything that you have written here as a background check?
Well, it says while permitting revision to the policy. We're just approving the background checks at this point with revisions to the policy, is my understanding. City Manager, would you like to add to that comment? Or
I concur.
Okay, the City Manager concurs with my answer. So.
And then next point is what happens when you get a flag on the background check?
Well, I think, Mr. Walker, the point of this is that in our parks, that's where our citizens, our children are. We want the people who are participating in activities, whether as vendor, coaches, whatever, in our parks, we want to assure that our children are safe. That's my understanding of the intent of this policy.
Okay, now my question there is, when you get a flag on it, what action do you take? Is that in that program?
Well, I'll defer to the police chief on, there's various actions for various things, but if we got a flag that a coach obviously has a sexual offender charge in his background, that coach is not going to be allowed to coach on our team. That would be an obvious. Police chief, want to help me out on that? He's nodding yes.
Okay.
Is that what you...
That will be in writing, and they will be aware of that when they become a volunteer and a vendor.
Yes, sir. It's our attempt, once they sign up, we'll be doing background checks, and those flags arise, they will not be allowed to participate.
Not to participate?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions from the public or concerns? Okay. Mr. White, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Commissioner Tender?
Yes.
Commissioner Barnes?
Aye.
Commissioner Russell?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes. So the motion is approved. Moving to item number 17, this is the second reading of ordinance number 1041. This is regarding the abandonment portion of Railroad Avenue right between 13th and 14th Street, and action is required on this item.
Bear with me.
We apologize for the length of this meeting and the number of ordinances. If you'll bear with us just for a moment while Mr. White finds it.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And here we are with ordinance 1041.
An ordinance of the City of Lynn Haven, Florida, providing for the vacation and abandonment of a portion of the Railroad Avenue right-of-way located between 13th Street and 14th Street, as more particularly described herein, repealing all ordinances in conflict and providing for an immediately effective date.
Hey, is there a staff report on this item or not? There's an attorney's report on this.
There is. Yes, ma'am. This is Railroad Ave is an old right-of-way that is runs through the heart of the city. Many portions of it have been abandoned over the years by the city and the county. It used to be a county road. This portion is right behind where CVS, the new CVS, is going to be. And my understanding is that the CVS has acquired the parcels on both sides of that and is requesting the abandonment so they can build their new pharmacy.
Thank you. Any questions or discussion from the board regarding, is there a motion to approve? Thank you.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. There's been a motion and a second. Any questions or discussion from the board? Any questions or discussion from the public? There appears to be none. Mr. White, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Russell?
Yes.
Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Commissioner Tender?
Yes.
Commissioner Barnes?
Aye.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes. So motion stands approved. The last item under old business is the approval and possible discussion of task order number 1 and design build contract for the half-cent sales tax infrastructure project. I just wanted to call to your attention that there are some drawings over to the side. The commission all have copies of this. City manager approached, we discussed this, and I completely concur that at this point we have many roads in this task order number 1 which do not require any infrastructure underneath as far as pipes and or very little, and we could go ahead and proceed and begin rolling out the asphalt for this half-cent sales tax money and revenue that we have, instead of it sitting in the bank while we pay interest on it. So I'm very excited that there's a possibility. I just wanted to say to the entire board that we can get moving on this right away, and that the citizens of Lynn Haven can start seeing the potholes and the terrible condition of our roads that have been ignored for so many years that we haven't been able to pave. They're going to be paved. So I'm so excited about this, and is there a motion that we move forward?
Move approval.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any discussion or questions from the board?
Mayor, I too would just like to take the opportunity to say this is very exciting. I think I've talked with the city manager, city engineer, and I believe we're going to be the first municipality in the county, including the county, that will start seeing new pavement. And I would just want to give kudos out to the city engineer for all the hard work that he's done. Previous city manager, I know we did some work prior to even the approval of the half-cent sales tax. So this is just good work coming to fruition. So it's good work.
Well, we also have done as much.
Excuse me,
good.
Commissioner Barnes, did you want to add to that? Did you want to speak as well?
Yeah, if you don't mind.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that the city has always tried to work as hard as we could, given the budget that we had to work with. Sure. And so this half-cent sales tax comes at a great time where we can put some money into the roads and get everything taken care of. And I'm glad to see this pass. So it's good for Lynn Haven.
Thank you. Anyone else on the board have a question or concern?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
I have one question concerning this 6th Street, and that is one of the ones that you're talking about paving, 6th Street.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. That street there has major infrastructure. That's one of my problem streets that I've been visiting folks with, drainage and everything there. And when I talked to the previous city manager, he said that when we did 6th Street, we would be doing paving and the infrastructure. So I don't know where that leaves you.
You're talking about stormwater infrastructure?
Yes,
We will be looking at stormwater as we go, but as the mayor alluded to, a lot of this has to do with water, wastewater that's up under the roads. A lot of this will allow us to move forward a lot quicker because we can have, instead of 60% plans, 100% plans. And as Commissioner Barnes alluded to, that we would possibly be the first municipality to put pavement on the ground.
Okay. So once we pave it, then if you find there's pipes that need
We'll
attention,
be doing
go
that.
back and do it?
We're going to be doing it as we go.
Oh, you are?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Okay, I thought this was paving only.
But
Wonderful.
It's primary paving. But that's one of the roads that's mainly paving, but it does not have any major stormwater or major water or wastewater up under the road.
Mayor, if I may?
Yes.
My understanding is all the red roads,
Right.
are roads that don't have pipes underneath the road.
Anything major.
Is that not correct? So
Water and sewer.
water and sewer pipes.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Forehand. Any other questions from the commission? Any questions or concerns from the public? Mr. White, if you would call the roll.
Commissioner Barnes?
Aye.
Commissioner Russell?
Yes.
Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Commissioner Tender?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes. Thank you. So it is approved, and we'll move forward and start smelling asphalt all over Lynn Haven soon. I'm very excited. Moving on to new business, item number 19. First reading of ordinance number 1042, amending section 2.02.01 2.02.05, and 4.07.01 of the city's Unified Land Development Code, Appendix C of the city's Code of Ordinances, extending the scope of the corridor overlay standards, repealing all ordinances in confliction, providing for codification, and providing an immediately effective date. No action is required on this. If Mr. White, if you could read ordinance number 1042.
Ordinance number 1042, an ordinance of the City of Lynn Haven, Florida, amending sections 2.02.01, 2.02.05, and 4.07.01 of the city's Unified Land Development Code, Appendix C of the city's Code of Ordinances, extending the scope of the corridor overlay standards, repealing all ordinances in conflict, providing for codification, and providing an immediate effective date.
Thank you. Are there any questions or concerns from the board that you would like to have explained, or we're good?
I do.
Okay, go ahead.
What you just read, I have no idea what you just said. The extending the scope of the corridor overlay standards, what is that? What exactly is that?
Thank you, Ms. Richard.
Currently, along Highway 77, for that portion of the corridor that's not in the CRA, we have what we call an overlay, a corridor overlay. And that means that anybody who wants to develop commercial or non-residential developments along that corridor have to adhere to stricter design standards than they do in the rest of the city, so that we have like a coherent look. And they have to provide a pathway from the sidewalk to the entrance of the building, that kind of thing. So this, the second reading will be at the next meeting, and I'll explain more. But basically, because of the widening of 390, we thought there's going to be redevelopment along there. So this is an opportunity to perhaps extend that so that it's not just on Highway 77 anymore, but also along Highway 390 outside the CRA areas.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Any other questions or comments? Okay. Then, or any from the public, I'm sorry. Okay, then moving on to the final item number 20. The first reading of ordinance number 1043, contracting from the municipal limits of the City of Lynn Haven, Florida, a certain parcel of land lying along Kirkwell Avenue, parcel 11571063000, as more particularly described herein, amending the boundaries of the city to exclude said land, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, and reciting an effective date. Any questions from the board regarding this? Oh, I'm sorry, I have to read the ordinance. Thank you.
Ordinance number 1043, an ordinance contracting from the municipal limits of the City of Lynn Haven, Florida, a certain parcel of land lying along Kirkwell Avenue, parcel 11571-063-000, as more particularly described herein, amending the boundaries of the city to exclude said land, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, and reciting an effective date.
Thank you. Any questions or concerns? Any from the public? Okay. Moving on to item number 21, and this is public commentary. This is the opportunity for anyone in the public who has an item that you'd like to bring before the commission. You may do that. Mrs. Tennell. While Mrs. Tennell is coming, I'd also like to invite any of you who'd like to stay afterwards to look at the drawings provided up front with all the streets that are set to be paved in the order. It's really exciting. Mrs. Tennell?
Okay, I'm Libby Tennell at 505 Virginia Avenue.
Thank you.
My house was built in 1915. And every time we have heavy rains, my yard floods. And y'all always talk about stormwater. When are you going to take care of these people that have been here for 100 years? I mean, I had about 3 years ago on the 4th of July when it rained so, it flooded my yard so bad it came up under my house, my floor rotted. I spent about $40,000 on that house, and the insurance did not cover it. Now, you're always talking about stormwater. I think you ought to do something about the water that stands. Every time it rains, my yard gets flooded, and I know the people on Virginia and 5th and 6th Street, the same thing. something needs to be done about that. Thank you.
I'm going to refer that question to the city manager.
Mr. Nell, to answer your question, that is something, my short term, I've received a lot of calls and spoke to a lot of citizens in Lynn Haven. So I have initiated with the engineer of the city, Panhandle Engineering. He has gave me a scope of work to look at doing a total stormwater plan for the entire city of Lynn Haven. And I will have that in the budget that the commission will vote on in the upcoming months.
Well, there's a ditch there, and every time we have a high tide, too, the water comes up, but it doesn't drain out because the ditch is too low, and the water doesn't drain out. I have snakes in my yard and rats. I was going to weed my flower bed the other day, and I went out there on the side, and there was a snake in my yard, and the weeds were taking place.
Oh, Lord.
And I would just like to just say a couple of kudos about our new city manager, because he's been here a short time, but he has initiated this stormwater study. And I will say, Mrs. Tennell, your complaint is very similar to people all over the city. There are people who are saying the same things. And as I've been referring them to Mr. White, they have been on the spot to get out there and look at those, the engineer, the public works department. And I really think we're going to start seeing a difference very quickly. So I'm encouraged because, as you know, I live right there by you. So anyone else? Public commentary? Yes, sir.
My name is Brad Yunt, live at 210 Lakeview Terrace. That's in the Meadows, which is a subdivision that's about half built out right now. And the concern that I've got is in the stormwater vein. And the issue is that the existing houses are sitting high enough to not have a problem. Some of the vacant lots do accumulate water after heavy rain. The concern is that as those vacant lots are built, that they may inherit that flooded condition in heavy rain. And it's very inexpensive to put in a swale or drain tile or put on more dirt or other means of addressing the situation when you're mobilized to build the house. It's a lot more expensive and invasive to do it after the fact. So my question is, who watches out for the people? Is that the homeowner's responsibility? Is that the builder's responsibility? Or is that something that maybe someone with a hydrological viewpoint on code inspection could watch out for and say, you know, you're going to have a problem with that when you build this lot out. You need to address it. Not the city's responsibility to address it, it's the builder's responsibility, but somebody has to bring it to their attention.
Thank you. I think it's a very valid point. Anybody else want to comment or answer that? Thank you. Anyone else have something? Yes, Ms. Harris.
My name is Arlene Harrison, 904 Michigan Avenue, and I am also having difficulty with stormwater runoff, which we have never had. I don't live in a flood area, but the fact is I am having trouble with it, but that's not really my question. My question is the stormwater study that Michael White has begun, or had somebody start, the engineer. How long would that study take? Then you were talking about what budget were you thinking of placing it in next year's budget? Is there nothing that can be done now?
The issue you have with a lot of stormwater, ma'am, is once you correct one area, you're simultaneously creating another havoc for someone else a lot of times. Here lately, there has been a lot of rain. I went out with the public works director on numerous homes and looked at their situation. In fact, there's a lot of groundwater. It's very high. The groundwater table is very high right now. This study will be in this upcoming budget year. And you're talking about a significant amount of money that the commission is going to have to really look at placing. But I really believe that it's the proper thing to do to look forward to trying to correct a lot of the problems of the city, because, the city of Lynn Haven is a pretty old city, and a lot of the basins need attention, and we may have to create some new basins to take care of the watershed.
Okay, thank you. And to follow up on that, since the mayor has come in with an expressed interest in stormwater runoff, I have seen a difference, and it's just that it is an awful lot of rain. But last I heard at the commission meetings, the ditches were being cleared and cleaned out, and the problem had come up where the ditches had been dug lower than the drain pipes, so of course they didn't drain. So the city themselves, with city workers, were at least addressing that temporarily. Of course, it is not an overall look like an engineer would do with a plan of action for the whole city, but it would at least ameliorate some of the local issues, I believe. Thank you.
I'd like to add to that. Public Works Director has been working hard on this. His phone rings off the hook because I'm the one calling him a lot of times trying to get my hands around this. But he has initiated a lot of roads where we have been taking up a lot of drain pipes that are failing.
Yes.
We clean out a lot of ditches, and he's shooting a lot of grades on these. So we're trying our best right now, considering all the rain we've been having. It's just the water table is so high.
It is.
You're filling the ditches
draining
right back up when it turns, the sunshine.
Yes.
So, but I appreciate that, and I know
you're right.
his guys do as well.
You're correct. It's just not draining. The water table's too high. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Does anyone else have a question? Yes, sir, in the back. I'll come right back to you, Mr. Walker.
Hate to keep beating this dead horse, but regarding the ADA mobility devices, Fred and I wrote our ADA mobility devices.
Can you speak just a little bit louder? We're not hearing.
A little bit louder.
Is the microphone on? Try again.
How's that? Any better?
Better, thank you.
Fred and I wrote our ADA mobility devices to the commission meeting today, and obviously we'll be riding them home. We would have liked clarity today, either one way or the other on this, so we would be able to move forward legally. So, would y'all consider passing a motion that you are not going to allow ADA mobility devices, electric ADA mobility devices on the bridge? Just pass a motion that you're not going to allow it. At least we can move forward legally. If you'll do that, it would be an assist. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Mr. Walker?
Rich Walker, 1106 Michigan Avenue. I know it's a long meeting, but I noticed there's no concentration on roads that you don't consider roads in this town. For example, we have alleyways. I don't see any of them. Correction, there are a few covered. The old railroad lane, which goes right behind this building, has been covered. That was an alley. There's one that goes right by your business. There's one that goes by the old library in the park. Those are not covered. Is any thought about putting in, we've done all kinds of infrastructure under these two particular alleys, but we haven't covered them. And boy, are they horrendous after the rain. I do not see any attention to the alleyways. I know there are a lot of them, A, B, C, D, E, F. They are lettered, probably as numerical as the alphabet. Is any concern been with the half-cent sales tax to paving these little byways that are almost used as much as Michigan Avenue and 10th Street, 5th Street? Has anybody thought of those?
I think everyone's thought of them, but I would defer to one of our engineer. Oh, there he is, Chris. I would defer to the city engineer. I'm sure that they are in the consideration. I think it's a matter of prioritizing, which is the most important, how it ties in. I'll let you answer the question. But right now, I think it's just a matter of getting the main streets where people live. The alleyways are certainly important, and I'm sure they'll become part of that plan as the money becomes available. But I'll let you jump on that. If you would let Mr. Forehand's address. Mr. Walker, he's right there.
Hey. Thank you.
Sorry.
What, Indian? Yeah. I'm Chris Forehand with Panhandle Engineering. When we first started this process of the pavement evaluation, we looked at the alleys, and it was kind of a general consensus with the city staff that maybe they would kind of fall in after the C and D roads, just depending on how the funds worked out, maybe along with the B roads. And if you look at the maps up there, the map on the left of the B-rated roads are the ones that, are going to be a year or two away at least. So I think that's kind of our plan as to where they fall. Obviously, you guys can change that decision. So does that answer your question?
I think it answers that they're just not the highest in priority, but I do understand your concern because I know that one that's right there across from Lynn Haven Elementary School and behind Ms. Tender's business and everything is, it does look like a lake after it rains, and there's a couple more. So I know I'm going to League of Cities next week, and there's going to be some grant workshops and opportunities for water rise is a big deal right now all over Florida, so there may be some money available, and I also have a meeting scheduled with Senator Gaynor about that same topic. So maybe there's some hidden money someplace that we can get our hands on. That's my hope. Thank you, Mr. Forehand. Anybody else have comment or good for the cause? Thank you all so much for coming out. Oops, sorry. Okay, Ms. Harris, go ahead.
I was waiting for stormwater runoff to go away.
Okay.
I was wondering, this is just a question, quick. Do we yet have a contract with our new city manager?
We have a temporary contract with our city manager, and we voted at the last meeting that we would extend the time to finish negotiating that contract until the 22nd because he's been so tied up with the fuel depot process over the last week that he really hasn't had time to sit with various members of the commission and discuss the contract.
Until 8/22.
The next commission meeting we'll be talking about it.
Okay, next
and coming to some
Okay,
conclusion.
thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else? Okay, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.